Hello, everybody. All right, so we're going to continue with the last lesson of Chapter 9. We're going to be comparing decimals. We're on page 385 of your textbook. So unlock the problem. The city park covers 64 hundredths square mile. About 18 hundredths of the park is covered by water, and about 2/10 of the park is covered by paved walkways. Is more of the park covered by water or paved walkways? So cross out unnecessary information. So this first sentence is something we don't need to know. We're not comparing the whole park. All we need to know is the part that's covered by water and the parts that's covered by paved walkways. So let's circle the numbers we will use. We're going to use the 18 hundredths and the 2/10. And so what do we need to find out? Is there more water or more paved walkways? Is more of the park covered by water or walkways? Okay. So one way we compare decimals is by using models. And we would be comparing, since these are different size parts, we basically be seeing which model has more shaded, more columns shaded. Because in this hundredths model, every column is 1/10. So 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10/10. So the columns do match the tenths. It's just that there's 10 parts in every column. All right, so we're going to shade 18 hundredths and we're going to shade 2/10. Okay, so looking at the models, which one has more shaded? Well, this one has 2 complete columns shaded. This one is 2 squares short of a complete 2 columns. So based on that, I'd say 18 hundredths is less than 2/10. Well, another way we can do that is to use a number line. And remember that 10 hundredths is the same as 0.1. 20 hundredths is the same as 2/10. 30 hundredths is the same as 3/10. 40 hundredths is the same as 4/10. And 50 hundredths is the same as 5/10. So when we use a number line, we want to find which one's closer to 0. The closer to 0 it is, the smaller the value. Okay, so in this case, we have 18 hundredths. We'll go right there. And 2/10 would be at the 20 hundredths. So 18 hundredths is closer to 0. So 18 hundredths is less than 2/10. We can also compare equal size parts. 18 hundredths is 18 hundredths. 2/10 is equivalent to 20 hundredths. 18 hundredths is less than 20 hundredths. So 18 hundredths again is less than 2/10. So we have 3 basic ways here. We're comparing size of the parts. In other words, we're trying, in a sense, finding common denominators or equivalent decimals. We can use a number line, or we can shade models. So more of the park is covered by, well, 18 hundredths is less, so the water is covered less. So more of the park is covered by paved walkways. All right, 386. We can also use place value, and we can compare numbers written as decimals by using place value. Comparing decimals is like comparing whole numbers. Always compare the digits in the greatest place value position first. So here's the example. Tim has 5/10 dollar and Sienna has 5/100 dollar. Who has more money? Well, Tim has 5/10. Sienna has 5/100. Well, looking at this model, clearly Tim has more money. But we can also do comparing using place value. So Tim has 0 ones, but he has 5/10. Sienna has 0 ones, 0/10, and 5/100. So when we compare this, the ones in this place value chart is the largest place value. Then tenths, then hundredths, thousands, so on. Okay, so 5/10 is greater than 0/10. Right? 5/10 is greater than 0/10. So 5/10 is greater than 5/100. Compare the size of 1/10 to the size of 1/100. How could this help you compare 5/10 and 5/100? Okay, so 1/10 of a whole is larger than 1/100 of a whole. So 5/10 must be larger than 5/100. 1/10 is larger than 1/100. So 5/10 must be larger than 5/100. All right, compare 1 3/10 to 6/10. Right, less than, greater than, or equal. All right, so if we're going to shade this 1 3/10, that would be a complete rectangle. All 10 parts would be shaded. And then 3/10 of the second one. All right, so that's 1 3/10. And then this one is just 6/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6/10 is not even one whole, right? So which one's bigger? Well, 1/3. 1 3/10 is clearly bigger. All right, page 387, number 1. Compare 39/100 and 42/100. Write less than, greater than, or equal. Shade the model to help. Okay, so 3 complete rows and then 9 of the fourth row. 42, we'd have 4 columns shaded and then 2 of the fifth column. All right, well, this one doesn't have 4 columns finished. This one has 4 complete and is working on 1, 2, 3, 42. It's working on the fifth column. Okay, so 39/100 is less than 42/100. I can also tell that by comparing the tenths. 3/10 is less than 4/10. All right, compare, write less than, greater than, or equal. 26 hundredths compared to 23 hundredths. So here, both of them have 0 ones. We go to the next place value. They both have 2 tenths. 6 hundredths is bigger than 3 hundredths. So 26 hundredths is greater than 23 hundredths. 7 tenths compared to 54 hundredths. So 7 tenths, 54 hundredths. So 0 ones on both, so that didn't help. 7 tenths, 5 tenths. Well, 7 tenths is larger than 5 tenths. 1 and 15 hundredths compared to 1 and 3 tenths. 1 and 15 hundredths, 1 and 3 tenths. Okay, so they both have 1 1, so we have to go to the tenths. Well, the second one has 3 tenths. So 1 and 15 hundredths is less than 1 and 3 tenths. 4 and 5 tenths compared to 2 and 89 hundredths. Well, here we can just compare the ones. 4 ones is larger than 2 ones. All right, so 9 tenths compared to 81 hundredths. 0 ones, 0 ones. 9 tenths, 8 tenths. So 9 tenths is greater than 81 hundredths. 1 and 6 hundredths compared to 6 tenths. 1 1, 0 ones. 1's greater than 0. 25 hundredths, 3 tenths. Well, remember, 3 tenths is the same as 30 hundredths, isn't it? Sure it is. So we can just compare the 2 tenths. 2 tenths is less than 3 tenths. 2 and 61 hundredths compared to 3 and 29 hundredths. Well, look at the largest place value. 2 is less than 3. 38 hundredths compared to 83 hundredths. Compare the largest place value. The largest place value is 0, but I mean the ones, there's nothing there. So 3 tenths compared to 8 tenths. 3 tenths is less than 8 tenths. 1 and 9 tenths compared to 99 hundredths. Compare the greatest place value, that is different, and 1 is larger than 0. 1 and 11 hundredths, 1 and 41 hundredths. The ones are the same, so let's go to the next largest place value. 1 tenth compared to 4 tenths. So 1 tenth is less than 4 tenths. 0, 0, 8 tenths, 8 tenths. No hundredths, no hundredths. This one is equal to each other. 14. Compare writing less than, greater than, or equal. So 3 tenths compared to 30 hundredths. Well, can I turn 3 tenths into hundredths? Yes. I would get 30 hundredths. So those are equal. 4 hundredths compared to 2 tenths. 0 tenths, 2 tenths. 15 hundredths compared to 1 tenth. Compare the size of the largest place value. Zeros, doesn't help. 1 tenth, 1 tenth, that doesn't help. 5 hundredths, no hundredths. This one is larger. And 1/8 compared to 8/10. 1/8 compared to 8/10. Well, we can find a common denominator by finding the least common multiple of the two numbers. So 8 and 10. What are the multiples of 8 and 10? 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, so we can make them into each of them into 40s. So 5 times 2, 4, 5 times 8, and 10 times 4 would give us 40s. So 5 40ths compared to 32 40ths. 5 40ths is less. Number 18. Ricardo and Brandon ran a 1,500-meter race. Ricardo finished in 4 and 89 hundredth minutes. Brandon finished in 4 and 83 hundredth minutes. What was the time of the runner who finished first? Okay, there are two times. And when we're in a race, we want the smaller number. Okay, what are you asked to find? What was the time? What was the time of the winner? The runner who finished first. What was the time of the runner that finished first? What do you need to do to find the answer? We're going to compare. To find the time that is less. Remember, this is a race, so we don't want to have the longest time. We want to have the fastest time, the shortest amount. So solve the problem. So we can use place value to compare 489 compared to 483. So they both finished in 4 minutes. 8/10, 8/10, 900th, 300ths. So 4 and 89 hundredth minutes is greater than 4 and 83 hundredths. But remember, this is a race, so this is the winner of the race. So the winner of the race was 4 and 83 hundredths minute. Does our answer make sense? Yes, the runner that won the race has a time that is less than the other runner. And 4.83, 4 and 83 hundredths is less than 4 and 89 hundredths. So that has to be the winner. 19. The Venus flytrap closes in 3/10 second, and the water wheel plant closes in 2/10 second. What decimal is halfway between 2/10 and 3/10? Well, all right, so if we were using a number line and we had, let's put 2/10 here, and then we're going to make 1, 2, 3, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. And then we put 0.3 there. But if we think of that as 20 hundredths and 30 hundredths, what would be exactly between 20 and 30? 25. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay. So what do? We said 2/10 is equal to 20 hundredths, and 3/10 is equal to 0.30. 0.25 is halfway between 0.20 and 0.30. And number 20. For numbers 20a through 20c, select true or false for the inequality. All right. So 5/10 is greater than 53 hundredths. So if we compare the largest place values, they both have zeros. So at that point, they'd be equal. 5/10, 5/10. Again, they still would be equal. This one has 0 hundredths. This one has 3 hundredths. So this is false. 53 hundredths is bigger than 50 hundredths. 35 hundredths less than 37 hundredths. 0, 0, 3/10, 3/10, 5/10, 7/10. 5 hundredths is less than 7 hundredths. That is true. $1.35 is greater than 35 cents. True. You just compare the 1 and the 0, right? $1 is bigger than no dollars. Okay, so that is the end of our lessons for Chapter 9. Our next session, we will start to review the Chapter 9 test. So until then, may the numbers always be in your favor.